Welcome everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to complete the Cayo Perico Heist every single time as a solo player. This guide is going to start with the initial scope out missions and go all the way up to the finale, so I hope it helps, and with that being said, let's get into it. So of course, the first thing you have to do is go to Warstock Cash and Carry and purchase the Cayo submarine. Now, you will have to initially go to the music locker, go through a cutscene and unlock it, but when you actually buy the submarine, that is when you'll be able to do the heist. You can also get the Sparrow with it. You don't have to. In my case, for this video, I'm going to show you how to do it without the Sparrow, because with the Sparrow, it makes things a lot easier. But if you don't have the money for it, it's completely okay. We're now going to start up the heist. So you're going to go to the planning board in the Cayo submarine. You have to pay $25,000 to start it up, and then you'll be able to go and start up the Gather Intel mission. Now, this is going to be essentially a plane you will have to go steal somewhere on the map. It changes each time you do it, and the easiest way to get there, I find, is to fast travel with the submarine. So all you do is you go into this workstation, go to fast travel, sort through the different locations that the submarine can take you to, and then pay for it to travel you to that place. Now, the first time you do fast travel, it will cost $10,000, but every time after that is $2,000, and it's a very minimal cost compared to how much you're making with this heist. Now at this time, if you have the Sparrow helicopter, you can just go to it in the submarine, fly it out, and go to whatever location you need to. In our case, we're actually going to come up above the submarine, request a dinghy in our interaction menu, drive the dinghy to shore, and then take a vehicle from there. If you happen to be in a location where there is a helicopter close by near the water, that's perfect. You take one of the helicopters on the helipads like Vespucci Beach, but in this case we didn't have that, so we took our bike. Now this first mission is fairly simple. All you gotta do is drive to a location. You're gonna see the Velum there, take out all the security that's around it, steal it, and then fly it to the checkpoint. This is gonna get you to the Cayo Perico Island, where we're gonna start up our first missions. So if you're doing this for the very first time, it's going to be a slightly different process. There are already videos on YouTube about it, but this is going to be for every time after. Now, we have a few things to talk about. First, we're going to have to scope out a few different points of interest. The first is going to be the drainage tunnel. You have to drive over there with a boat close to the bottom of the cliff at the compound, and you will get the notification that you have scouted out the drainage tunnel. We're also going to have to take a picture of the main dock. And once we've done those two things, we've now scouted out our points of interest, and we can now move on to getting to the communications tower so that we could figure out what's our primary target and get off the island. So the route that I personally take from the airfield to get to the communications tower, I'm going to show you here in a second, but all you got to do is hop on the motorbike, and feel free to take this exact same route. I'll speed it up for you a little bit, but feel free to follow it because it's always worked for me. The only thing I will say is when you go and hit the jump at the cliff, make sure to pop a little bit of a wheelie before you do so, because there will be times where if you don't do that, it will knock you off your bike. So lift the front wheel up a little bit, it'll help you out. And besides that, everything's fairly simple. Just stay relatively cautious, don't rush it, make sure you do it properly. And once we've reached the communications tower, just like the initial time we did it, you're gonna have to search for the box. Do the hack, it's very simple. And then we're gonna go look through the security cameras. Now, on the second round, the only camera that you're gonna care about is the basement camera, at least for my method. And that's because we're gonna figure out what our primary target is, and then after that, we are going to leave. So for this video, I did a few different heists. The first time you could see I showed the safe, and that's because this gives a different prep mission later on. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And the second one that I did showed tequila. So you could find primary targets, either one in the safe, which will be the bearer bonds, or two in that glass display, which can be a variety. It could be the pink diamond, the ruby necklace, tequila, a few different things, sometimes a panther statue on events. That's gonna be our primary target. Once we've determined that, we're then just gonna leave the island. Now, if you are doing this for the first time, this is your first ever heist, make sure you go back to the airstrip, get in the plane and leave. But if this is not your first time, you could just log into a new invite only session, make sure your Cayo is your spawn location, and that mission is over. So now it's time for our first setup mission, and we're doing our approach vehicle, which for this method is going to be the Longfin. Now, I highly suggest getting a Phantom Wedge if you can afford it, because it makes this mission easier, but if not, that's completely fine. I did it without one. So this mission is fairly simple. Once again, in order to get to the location we need to, I personally go up above the submarine, request a dinghy, and then because I am here in the city, I set the location of my Kasatka down there at the beach. I then go and drive over to the Vespucci helipad. There will always be a helicopter there. I take that helicopter, fly to where I need to. For this mission, we go to one of a few different police stations where they're going to have the Longfin boat that we need. They're then going to give us a prompt to go find a cab, assuming you don't have a Phantom Wedge with you. Once you go to those locations, take out whoever's there and steal one of the cabs. We're then going to drive over to the police station, back the truck cab into the police station, attach ourselves to the Longfin. We want to set our waypoint for this location here on the map. Once you've done that, we're just going to head to that location. I got lucky in my case. They actually gave me a Phantom Wedge, which is interesting. First time I ever ran into that. But we're going to plow through all the cars and we're going to head to that location. Now that's going to be the checkpoint we need to deliver the Longfin to, so it's important that we head that way. Along the way, we'll have to lose the cops, and the easiest way to do this is when you're driving, as soon as you're off the radar of the cops, as soon as it shows them looking for you and no longer flashing blue and red, just hop out of the truck, throw a sticky bomb down, and unalive yourself. Because that is going to get rid of the cops, but also leave the truck there next to you. Then when you respawn, you can go over to the truck, grab it, and head to the location, which will be right there on the water. And that there is the first setup mission done. Very simple, should probably take 5-10 minutes maximum. So the next setup mission varies on whether you have the primary target in the safe or in the display. Now, if it's in the display, that means that you're gonna have to steal a plasma cutter. So this is a very simple setup. Once again, you're first gonna have to go to a safe house where there will be a planning board inside. You have to take a picture of the planning board and you'll then be given a location somewhere else on the map. When you go to that location, however, be careful because there are quite a bit of enemies. So I would highly suggest bringing tons of ammo and then a RPG or a homing launcher, whatever it may be. It's not an insane amount of enemies, but do be ready for a firefight. Once you take them out and you steal the plasma cutter, all you got to do then is bring it back to the Kasaka submarine. Once again, I've been using the approach of going to the Vespucci helipad, grabbing the helicopter and flying to and from the submarine, but also sometimes just using the dinghy. If I'm at the beach, if I'm close to shore, request a dinghy, drive over there. It makes things very simple. Now, if you happen to get the primary loot where it's in the safe, you're gonna have to go and steal the security code. And this one, every single time you're gonna go to the casino, the Diamond Casino, you're gonna break in, go to the parking garage first, and you're always going to find what you need in the trunk of this yellow old Lampadati car. Once you get that, you're going to go up to the next level, take out the guards in front of the room there, and then enter this party. Now, if you do it stealth, it's going to be a little bit easier, but at the end of the day, it turns into another firefight, and you're going to be looking for the head of security. Now, he could be in 3 different locations. The first one is this room here in the bathroom. The second location is in this little boardroom section here, and the third location is at the far end of the bar in the main dance area. Now, once you find them, you'll have to take them out, steal the security code, and then once again get into another firefight getting out of the casino. Now, this mission's a little bit easier because instead of having to return this back to the submarine, all you have to do is lose the cops to complete this setup. So in my case, what I personally do is I just grab my motorcycle and I drive up the hill right next to the casino. Cops won't be following you up there. I think you have 2 stars on you, so they're not even going to follow with the helicopter. You lose the cops and then you could go find the new invite-only session to spawn back at your Kasaka submarine. Now, the next setup is probably the easiest out of all of them. It is the Fingerprint cloner. So you're first going to have to go to a warehouse. Now, you can either just barge in there or you could turn off the security system with a latch on the side of the building. There's a few different locations you could go to, but you go in there, you take out 4 different security guards, hack a laptop, and then you're going to be given a location to another warehouse. Once you arrive at that warehouse, take out the cameras in front, run to the very back, and they will be sitting on one of the tables there. Just run in the vicinity of those tables. It will say you picked up the fingerprint cloner, and then you head out back to your Kasaka submarine, and that is the mission done. It is, like I said, by far the easiest, really simple, and now it's time for the last equipment setup. So the final equipment prep is going to be for the cutting torch. It's going to give you a location of a construction site. One is at the top of a tall building, which I highly suggest getting a helicopter to, flying up to the top and then going from there, whereas the other two can be reached from the ground floor. In my case, it can be reached from the ground. Now, in all three cases, you can either go in and there's going to be security guards everywhere. You could go in, take them out, and then search through all the toolboxes to find the cutting torch, or in each location there will be a place that you could put on a construction hat or helmet. If you put that on, you will then be able to walk freely through the construction site without getting into any problems. So that's what I personally did. I picked up the construction hat or the hard hat, put it on, and walked through the site, went through all the different toolboxes, and finally found the cutting torch. Once you get it, all you gotta do is take it back to the submarine, easy as that. And now it is time for our final setup. The final prep is going to be the weapon loadout. Now, I personally use aggressor for this heist. You can do whatever you want. Aggressor works, marksman works, whatever you feel the most comfortable with. But I go for aggressor. Now, this mission is different than the others, where there is one that you want to avoid at all costs. So essentially, we're going to be going to a building, taking out some enemies, getting the weapons, and then coming back. But if you happen to start up the mission and at the very bottom of your screen it says go to the Merryweather site, I think it's Merryweather something, Merryweather HQ, that's what it is. If you see that, log into a new invite-only session and try to skip it at all costs. If you log into a new session and restart the mission, it will give you a new randomized location. It may take a couple tries, but avoid the Merryweather at all costs. You want to see one of the different buildings, in my case, 707 Vespucci. And that's because the Merryweather mission takes like 10 minutes or whatever. It's such a waste of time. Whereas here, this is a very quick mission. So like I said, you're gonna go to the building. I suggest if you don't have the Sparrow, go through the ground floor. If you have the Sparrow, land on the top of the building and go through the top because you won't run into any enemies. But if you were like me, go through the ground floor, take out the enemies there. You're then gonna get into the building and have to take out more security guards before first going over to the safe, checking if the safe would open, and it doesn't, so you have to do a hack on the laptop. Once you've done that, you're then able to open the safe, take the weapons, and bring them back to the submarine. And now we have officially completed all the setups we need to start up this mission. Very simple. This whole process should take about an hour if you are doing it like me with no Sparrow. If you have the Sparrow, it can take as little as like 35, maybe 40 minutes. So fairly decent time. And now it is time to start up the heist. Very exciting. We're doing it completely solo, of course. It is very easy to do it solo. The downside of it is that you will have a 2.5 hour cooldown once you've completed it, but it is what it is. So we do the Longfin as our approach, main dock as our infiltration point. That's very important. That's why we scouted it out. The drainage tunnel as our compound entry point. The escape point does not matter, time of day, and then I personally put suppressors on my weapons. It makes it a little bit easier so that when you shoot people, it's not as loud. We will only be killing one guard in this process anyway, so it's not really that necessary, but it's perfectly fine, makes it easier. Let's get into the Cayo Perico heist. So we're gonna start off here at the main dock, or the main dock entry point, and this is important that we did this because it is the closest part to where we're gonna get our secondary loot, which is what we're going to do first. Usually, or in the past, people have gone through the main or gone through the drainage tunnel, did the primary loot first, and then got secondary. We're actually doing it in reverse, and this makes it easier and guarantees that you will get secondary loot every single time. So we're going to make a sharp left turn like I did and head over to the airstrip. Now, you did not have to scout out any of the secondary loot that's there. There are multiple loot spawns in this area, so I've never, out of the dozens of times that I've done the heist, ever ran into a situation where I didn't get full loot bags, but you will see here, we're going to get all the loot that we need. So we're going to head over first to the hangar, because the hangar has 4 different loot spawns. Now there will be a guard in front of the hangar that you got to watch out for. We're going to wait for him to turn around here, he is going to walk past in front of the entrance there, and then we're going to slip in. So now that we are in the hangar, we're going to head over to the first loot spawn, which is down here at the bottom. In our case, we got cash and then grass. Now, these are not the best. The best is the Coca-Cola by far. So if you have the opportunity to choose one over the other, go for that. But in our case, it is what it is. Now, for this specific run, I actually knew that there was another loot spawn above us, which I'll show you in a second, so I didn't take the cash right away. I instead went and checked the second loot spot. So what you have to do is you go over here, grab the forklift, and then we're going to head over and pick up one of the pallets on the other side of the warehouse. Takes a little getting used to. I messed it up the first time through, but we pick up that pallet, reverse, and then we're actually going to lift it all the way up and drive it right into the gate here, into the wall here, just under those barrels on the second floor or second level. We're then going to hop up onto our forklift, hop up onto the crate there, the pallet, and then here is our second loot spawn. Now for us, we got unlucky and it was only cash. So this loot spawn wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it's perfectly fine. So we're going to pick up the cash here. And once we've done that, we were then going to go down below and grab the cash below us. But there was a slight issue, and that you may run into this yourself as well. I rarely run into this personally, but we're going to have to actually go to another loot location despite having 3 different secondary loot stacks here. So first, of course, we picked up the cash. And like I said, if you're in a situation here where you have Coca-Cola and a lot of grass, it's going to make this process easier, because once you've hit the 3 spots here or the 4 locations here, you are done. You're ready to go. But in our case, we weren't done. So it's actually a great way, because I'm going to demonstrate and show you guys the second different loot spawn that you can find here in the airstrip. And this is why we go to this location, because it has so many opportunities to get loot. It just makes things a lot easier and a lot faster. So we're actually going to hop up here onto the wall there, hop up onto the roof, and there is going to be a guard and a camera we have to take out. So the first person we're going to take out is the guard that's standing over here on the porch. Boom, make sure it's a headshot every time, keep it clean, keep it simple. And then there is going to be a security camera right below us. Take out the security camera, we're all good to go. And now we're going to hop down here and go over to this other loot spawn. Now, what's very important is you're going to see in the bottom left-hand corner, there is a guard close by. If you cut the chains on this lock here, when that guard is too close, he can hear it and you will trigger the alarm. So make sure you wait for him to start walking away. Once he does that, then you can get through, take the remaining loot that we need, and then we are now going to head back to the Longfin to go over to the drainage tunnel to enter into the compound. Another little tip is for those of you who are new to driving the boats, if you hold the right bumper or the, I think it's R1 on PS5, it allows you to make sharp turns with the boat. So if you ever need to do that with any of the boats in this heist or in GT5 in general, that's an easy way to get around. So we have now reached the drainage tunnel entry point, and we're just gonna hop out of the boat, put on the rebreathers when you get into the water. It's either gonna be left or right on the D-pad. It allows you to breathe longer underwater. And now we are going to cut open the grate. We need the cutting torch for this, of course. Now, the simple way that I go about this is I just go over each line all in one go 3 times. 3 times through usually cuts it clean for me, so take your time with it, don't rush it too much, or else it's just gonna be frustrating and a waste of time. But go through it 3 times properly, and then it's gonna be easy as that. Alright, so we are now in the compound. We're gonna wanna run up the stairs, make a sharp left turn and over the railing, and make sure you do that fairly quickly, because the guard will be coming back down that way soon after that. We're then going to make a left turn and then another right over this railing here, and we are now close to the main building of the compound. Now you can see in the mini map, these red guards are the personal guards, the close ones to El Rubio, so they're going to be watching this building fairly closely. You are able to run past them, they won't hear you, but just make sure you never hit their cone of vision. That is the goal. So we're going to run past all those guys, and now we're going to come up to this flight of stairs here and hide behind this wall. There's going to be another guard now that comes down the stairs here, and there's two ways to go about it. One, you could actually take him out, but you run the risk of making too much noise and then being spotted. So I personally just wait, he walks right past you, run behind him, and now we're in the main office of the compound. You're going to want to go over here, check the wall safe, grab whatever cash is there. Usually you could find an okay amount of cash, it's not going to be something crazy. In our case it was 70 grand. And then we have to do the keypad hack, the fingerprint hack. Now this one's really simple. I'm going to speed up this portion here in a second, but essentially each panel is a part of the fingerprint. Just match it up. If you start from panel 1, you get the first part of the fingerprint, go down to panel 2, you could even start from the first part of the fingerprint and move to the right one. That gives you the second part, and just keep going further and further down from there. Makes it really simple. This hack is not too difficult, and this is going to allow us to get into the basement where our primary loot is. So now that we were successful, we are now going to go into the elevator here, head down to the bottom floor, and get our primary loot. So in this version of the heist that I did, we had the tequila, which means we were using the plasma cutter. If you had the safe, you would actually get a text from Pavel, I believe, that will give you the safe code. All I gotta do is put the safe code in and take the primary loot. Very simple. In this case, we're gonna use the plasma cutter. You go until that heat bar gets close to the end here, close to overheating, and then let it cool off. 5 times through will break through the glass and you are good to go. So we got it done. We got the tequila, and now we are heading out of the compound. Now, this part can be a little bit tricky. Just take it slow, do it properly, don't rush it. Most of the times that I mess up this heist, it's because I literally rushed this portion, so take your time. But we're now going to run down these stairs here, and to the left of us is a railing, a balcony. We're going to jump off this balcony. Now, what's very important is that there will be times where there's some guards looking at that spot where you're going to jump off. If you see anybody in the mini-map looking at that area that you're going to jump off, wait for them to move. The guard that is there on the same staircase as you will not turn around. Just wait for them to go and you will be fine. And now we are ready for the final part of the heist. It is very simple, very easy. We have done all the hard work now. Now it's just getting away. So we're going to run over here in front of us, and we're going to take out the first guard of the heist. So this guy here in front of the motorcycle, take him out, easy as that. Headshot. And then we're going to, actually that's a lie, we took out a guard before, but still, whatever. Usually that doesn't happen. Anyways, we're going to take the motorcycle here, drive past that little helipad that was there, and we're going to now head over to this side of the island because we're going to jump off the island with our bike. And this is going to allow us to escape Cayo Perico fairly simple, fairly quickly. Pop a little wheelie here, bring that front tire up, and now we are going to swim. Now you'll see straight ahead of me there are 3 different mines in the shape of a triangle. You want to swim out towards them. At the far mine just to the right of it, there will be, looks like, whale bones. Swim to the whale bones, and that is when the heist will have the cutscene of it being over, and we are done. And that is the easiest, simplest way to do the Cayo Perico heist. On average, I find I make about $1.3 million or more every time I complete it. As you can see there, it is done. Simple as that. That is the heist. I really hope this video helped you guys out. The specific method that we used should always be done in under 15 minutes, which you'll see here in a second. Also means that if we complete the heist in under 15 minutes, if we have 0 hacks failed, and if we get full loot bags, which we did all 3 of, we will get the elite challenge. Now, when you're doing it on normal mode, like we were doing it, that is $50,000. But if you do it on hard mode, that will be $100,000. So you can see there just under 12 minutes, easy as that. 0 hacks failed, and then of course, we also had full loot bags. Simple, easy $1.3 million for about an hour and 15 minutes worth of time. If you're using the Sparrow and you get the hang of it, you could do this thing literally in like 45 minutes. I've done it many times in 45 minutes. It is very simple. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.